Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Gyan Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration to Sadguru is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Upashama Prakarana, section 85 continues. Rather, we are entering into section 86. And Sage Vasistha is presenting deep insight into the process leading to enlightenment and the state of enlightenment through the story of Sage Vitahavya. In storyline, Sage Vitahavya has attained enlightenment. And as if playfully he is talking to his mind and his senses, and all about that he lived through his life, everything that you have been familiar with, preparing to say goodbye to all. In the spirit of sport, he sustained a stream of enquiry within himself, as if talking to his mind and senses in the following manner. Just to remind you that not to be taken literally. Enlightened says doesn't go on talking to mind and senses. But this is allegorical. How will you be viewing your mind and senses when you become enlightened? What will be the situation? You will have the body, you will have all your practical realities before you. Your mind will be working, your intellect will be working, your senses will be working, your body will be working as long as there is karma. But how will you view them in the state of enlightenment? And that viewing is spontaneous experience that has no words. You are not viewing it to give a view, making a view of it in your own mind and then telling it to others. It's not a review. It's a revelation. Difference between the revelation and review. Now, this is how he starts. Starting first talking to his mind. O mind, O the Lord of the senses, that's what the mind in your personality, always going after the senses. You go and do something. Eyes, look there. Nose, wait. Turn your nose to this direction. Smell is coming. Ears, yes, it is interesting. Somebody has spoken my name. So, mind is constantly handling these wild horses, making them wilder. And now he says, O mind, the lord of the senses, behold the result of serenity. The experience is presented as shama. With enlightened state, you are experiencing shama, serenity. Here again, it is not an external attainment. It's a heart-based experience. What I'm implying, your serenity will not be disturbed, but externally you will appear to react to situations. Ramayana itself gives the illustration. First illustration, serenity at its best. Prasannatam yana gatabhishekata. Rama is told he is going to be coronated as heir apparent to the throne. Serenity didn't. He stayed, his face remained the same. And very next day, maybe 2 days more, he's banished to the forest, not to have any possession from Ayodhya. And he didn't lose that serenity of his face. But this is the ideal. You don't expect that ideal to be always there. Because even Rama doesn't hold that ideal all the time. When Lakshmana is unconscious, Rama grieves like anybody else. But does he lose his serenity? Never. So that's what I'm trying to explain. To be serene, of course, in the beginning, try to stay as calm, as completely quiet. But as you become more mature, focus on doing your duties with perfect skill, thoroughly. And while you are doing your duty, if you are a teacher, you have to speak, be eloquent. And similarly, different duties demand different activities. When you are busy with that, people can't see, are you serene? What happened to your serenity? You are shouting out to the person, come, come, you are needed. Don't be fooled. Serenity is not upset because of these. Rather, all this becomes much more precise, efficient, qualitative, all your activities, if internally you are simple part relaxed. But in the sage of a case, you are not just ordinarily relaxed, you are permanently relaxed. Because the mind is not trapped by karmas, is not limited by or restricted by ignorance. And therefore it's you're living in a house with full windows open. Sunlight is not restricted. You are able to reflect the glorious self. It's just like having given the illustration of the window open. The mind keeps the windows in a state of ignorance, windows are closed. And you are as if creating an artificial apparent light, imaginary light. And in that light you are going after so many illusions. But now your windows are open. You have attained a Brahman, who is the very embodiment of bliss. It is that very mind has led you to enlightenment. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta, your mind is total mind, chitta. Therefore, in future, learn to function without being swayed by attachment or hatred, gain and loss, and without being distracted by the objects of the world. Chitta is under the control of raga dvesha constantly due to ignorance, attachment, hatred, and thereby all the kleshas. This is called upalakshana. When we talk of raga dvesha, we have talked of all 5 kleshas. Chitta is under control of ignorance, egoism, attachment, hatred, fear of death. These dominate your chitta. But now, all these don't dominate. Ignorance has been removed by jnana, knowledge. O senses, come to senses. I do that. I have discovered your thieving nature. Your hopes are frustrated. Because that's the hopes of the senses. Always be curious to have more pleasure. Go into the Google to see what are the sites that will excite your imagination. But senses have developed a thieving nature. Why? Because they are dominated by anger, hate, greed, lust or desire, perverted desire, all these impurities. Impurities are called robbers. Kama, krodha, lobha. They rob you of your spiritual values. So, and the senses are being under the control of these robbers. So therefore they have become companions for thieves. You cannot steal the wealth of the self anymore. That has been your senses have been doing all the time. You do not even exist as a reality. That's why you are senseless. O senses, it was ignorance that promoted your illusory existence. But now, having realized the self, I have found you to be non-existent. I do not blame you for the miseries you have created. That again has a subtle meaning. Always you are blaming your senses. Each time you face any trouble, why didn't I know this before? You little eyes, why didn't you see when the trouble was coming? Instead of taking me to satsanga, you took me to the drunken house. And countless regrets caused by your senses. But realize, in the state of enlightenment, all this simply vanishes. You never did anything. In the state of realization, you discover you are akarta, non-doer. So how can you be blamed? As long as you're not akarta, you blame the senses. And this is further elaborated. Wood abides in the trees of the forest. Axes that cut the wood abide in the iron. A rope that binds wood comes from the fiber of bamboo trees. These are a description of the old style architecture, old style technology, where all this was needed when you want to build a house. A carpenter works with the wood for the sake of earning a living. To bring an architect. When a house is built, then none of those come forward asking for thanks. That this house is mine. Give me a portion of this house to each of those that has helped the house. But not so. They have all been only instruments. Who is considered responsible in building this whole house? The wood of the forest, the axes that cut the wood, the rope that tied the logs into bundles, or the carpenter who worked on the house? Who is responsible? Your insight is being given to your own embodied personality, your mind-body complex, which is a kind of a house. But try to think of it, who built it? The fact is this sense of actorship and enjoyership has arisen out of ignorance. So all that you are now aware of is what your body does, your mind does, what your intellect does. But these are not real authority, real master of your body or your personality. The reality behind your personality is Brahman. To whom does this house belong? With the removal of ignorance, the self is realized as the eternal, immutable reality. This point is understood by following the teaching from the Gita, Nimitta Matram Bhavasavya Sachin. O Arjuna, be a mere instrument in divine hands. Because all these that is described, your body, your senses, the vital sheaths, your mind, your intellect, all these are ingredients, components that go to form your personality. But your personality is nothing but an instrument. And who is operating these instruments? Your entire personality and all that you do turns out to be just a spoon. And if a spoon brings you some tasty food, you don't thank the spoon. So if you begin to enjoy peace, a profounder experience within yourself, You don't thank the body, mind, senses. Whom do you thank? God. That again you thank in an early stage. Even you who are thanking is nothing but the same divine self. The reflected sun comes to realize that all this, the pot, the water, and all external situations are instruments only. None of this, nothing exists, nothing belongs to me. Then thank the sun. But by the same thing to thank, you thank it to your essential nature. In practice, again, everything has different levels. In your daily life, you start building up that type of understanding that you should not go on highlighting your rajasic and tamasic ego for everything that you have done and things that have happened. But with each success, with each experience of fulfillment, you must realize that you are opening your window little by little. And what makes all this positive? The light of the sun. So in each experience of fulfillment, your mind is turning to God. And more humility until ego is effaced. And that happens automatically. You don't figure out now, how much is my ego? How much effaced have I done? When you go to sleep, you don't go on working with your ego. Your ego don't hold on to time and space. Ego suddenly slips away. With enlightenment, ego just doesn't slip away. Ego is a shade of darkness. It is removed by light. Ego is understood to be illusory. Having thus developed the vision of the immutable self, the sage lived for many years, all the while enjoying freedom from the illusions of the mind. Though performing his external duties, he was ever immersed in supreme self. This is the simple fact. Having attained that state, the self the sage didn't simply move away, didn't die. He continued to operate as a Jivan Mukta. Having realized that the prarabdha karma that sustained his body was coming to an end, this again in a storyline. A sage who is enlightened doesn't have to go after any other problem. Problems are resolved automatically by his intuitive vision. But all this is being presented so that you have the idea to help aspirants. What does Videha Mukti means? It is like saying goodbye to the mind, senses, and all the world you have been experiencing from life to life. But not short goodbye, goodbye forever. And now that's the whole allegorical description, how he starts. First calls them all, and now farewell message. O attachment, You have now become non-existent for me. Good news. When I'm talking to attachment, the spirit of hatred looks up to you. What's your message to me? Oh hatred, you have become extinct for me. Both of you have accompanied me through the world process for a long, long time. Goodbye forever. Now, next set of people are enjoyments of the world. First says adorations to you. Why? Because you have provided entertainments for me through millions of embodiments. You made me forget the bliss of the self. And a subtle hit, scold. But now you have become non-existent. Goodbye forever. Now there is a whole assembly of spirits of misery with very suspenseful faces. They look at him and says, I'm indeed grateful to you. Because during the misery time that you begin to understand misery shouldn't be there. Until you come to a mature state, the entire world process. So as long as you are dependent, it is the basis for misery. The whole philosophical system is, where is pain? What is the cause? What is the solution? And what is the state when all the pain moves away? Chatvari are satyani. 4 Aryan truths. Pain, cause of pain, the methods of removing the cause, and termination of pain. All this you wouldn't have known if there were no pain. So thanks to misery. Having afflicted me in various ways, you paved the way for the practice of inquiry and reflection. You became the teacher, leading me along the path of liberation. Adorations. Now, all this time, the body identity was waiting for you. What's the message? Oh, friendly body, in vain you exist in this world process. I have been joined to embodiment for a long, long time. And body is not one body, countless bodies that you have gone through. But now, having attained enlightenment, I must part from you forever. No more embodiment. Do not blame me. This world is sustained for the sake of the self alone. And you are not myself. You are non-self. So therefore, goodbye forever. In the Bhagavad Puran, it is termed in Kunti's prayer. Prayer says to Lord Krishna that go on giving me challenges, go on giving me miseries. For what? Apunarbhava darshanam, so that I will not have the cycle of birth and death again. That's the essence, essential goal presented by all scriptures. Having helped me attain self-realization, you have brought yourself to total destruction. How foolish are you? Behold the vanity of this world. In the meantime, the spirit of craving was slipping the tongue. Oh, mother craving, I am departing from you forever. Craving is Krishna. And when you reach Krishna, there is no Krishna. When you attain enlightenment, the flame of craving is completely blown out. That's called nirvana. But if you don't reach enlightenment, then you are more craving than your body. Your body ages, but look at your craving youthens. In my absence, you will gradually wane and become non-existent. The life of a Jivan Mukta sees the waning of craving until it becomes extinct. But if you are not Jivan Mukta, your craving is creating a whole set of illusions, paving the way for future embodiments. But do not grieve, for such is the nature of all things that are born. They must die and disappear. Simple rule of nature in this creation of Brahma, anything that is born must die. We shouldn't become too confusing. Truth alone exists. Falsehood may appear to be born, and when there is knowledge, it cannot stay. So any false state of experience from the beginning to end is illusory. It's only birth of illusion and death of illusion. There is no real birth and death. Now, the whole set of assembly there of virtuous karmas, at least you should thank them. Oh, virtuous karmas, first you must realize that divine attainment is not a result of fruit of karma. Virtuous karmas can be performed sakamya or nishkamya. If you do sakamya because you are doing virtuous deeds and you have your expectation because you are doing all this, you will have wonderful experience. You will go to Swarga, heavenly world, where there will be lots of pleasure. But then that's called sakamya. But if you are spiritually mature, you do virtuous deeds so that there is chitta shuddhi, there is purity in your heart. Because each joyous situation promoted by virtue should allow you to be fascinated by God who gives the happiness, not going after the fruit of karma. Two ways of enjoyment: go after the fruits, then that type of enjoyment you have to wait until the fruit comes. And by the time you go after it, that fruit happens to be coconut, falls right on your head, cracks your head. I'm joking. That's what the role of virtue is. Virtuous karma. Led by virtuous karma, you develop many prosperous situations in life. But that is not the goal. Here the virtuous karma is sakamya. led by your ego's expectation. Virtue that is inflating your ego. That is not real virtue, but it's called virtuous karma from the ordinary point of view. And of course, it is much better than sinful karma. Karmas are papa and punya. Papa, sinful karmas. Punya is righteous or good karmas. Liberation is neither fruit of sinful karma nor virtuous karma. Fruit of virtuous or sinful karma is embodiment. Then what happens to the karma? Karma becomes karma yoga if you are following the path of virtue, path of liberation. And then in that, you are not expecting the fruit. All that you are expecting, that you should have more closeness with God. You should have more degrees of surrender, more humility, more control over the mind and senses, more of the three Dhamma, Daya, Dan. That becomes your kama. But that kama is mumukshutva. Aspiration is not turned as a desire. My adorations to the sinful karmas as well. Many implications. Sometimes, and we have parables given from the scriptures. Valmiki himself, who is the writer of the Yoga Vasistha, is the illustration of sinful karma. He was a great robber. Not just robber, butcher, murderer, looter. But then he happened to encounter Narada. And he wanted to do the same robbery. He wanted to take his costly bira. When Narada tricks him, tells him that if you do that, it is a sinful karma. And don't you know the fruits of sinful karma? He said, whatever it is, but I am not alone in this. My whole family are joined with me. Narada says, think again, ask them, do they really join with you in experiencing your sinful karma? And he goes to his beloved wife. Tell me, for you and for this family, I do so many killing and all that. So, will you not also share with me after I'm dead? I said, we don't. So wife says that, children say the same thing. He finds himself alone, subject to all suffering. So his own karmas now come to, in a very allegorical way, giving him that switch in insight. How many bad karmas have done? And nobody will share my misery. All I am responsible. Oh, Saint Narada, save me. So, all his negative karmas put him into that state. That doesn't mean that you seek that moral. At the same time, there isn't anyone who doesn't have negative karma. Another point, as you begin to advance in a spiritual way, you do not hold on to the memories of your negative karma. They have helped you, you have learnt lessons from them. And the lesson is not to repeat errors, not to go after sinful karmas. But having become free from sinful karma, corrected yourself, now you don't go on holding that in your mind. And go on looking every day in a diary, how many sinful karmas. And abhyasa. Oh, stick. You see, old style people have always a stick with them. In other words, everything that supported you is stick that you depend upon. You have protected me from wild animals of the forest, have assisted me in crossing pits and traversing hilly grounds. You have been a sustenance in my old age. But now, oh my constant companion, goodbye. I depart from you forever. Niralamban. You have always alamban, support. But in this, with enlightenment, you don't need any support. And all the support you have needed has been illusory. Now, the tasty luxuries, they are another set of associations there. And they have been waiting what their message is. Goodbye to food, comfort, and various luxuries of the body, for which I used to wander through the forests. All this, eat, drink, be merry, that field of happiness is presented before you, that most souls in the state of ignorance, they find their heaven in this world of pleasure. But that's not real heaven. You are simply wandering through forest. Now I don't need you anymore. Goodbye to all luxuries. Goodbye to all delicious dishes. Pancakes. Rasgullas. Modaks, laddus. And now in the meantime, the pranas have been sitting. Prana, pada, samana, udada. He says, adoration to the pranas. Oh pranas, because of your assistance, that I was able to enjoy different objects in different embodiments, all the joy that comes through your pranas. So many types of delights, so many types of experiences, pranas provide for you. And it is the life of your body. But that condition will not come again. You will not be in a body charged with pranas. Without you, I could not have used the mind, the senses, the body. Pranas provide the energy behind mind, senses. How much they have done. And we're going to lose them all. Figure it out. If you want liberation. Now please retire to your source while I enter into my essential nature, Brahman. In the meantime, the spirit of smell in the form of a big nose, I'm joking, waits for the message. You, spirit of smell, enter the earth element. Smell comes from the earth element. You organ of hearing, enter ether element. You taste, enter water. Sight, get into fire. Touch, get into air. And you elements, you are nothing, enter into Brahman. You have all illusory product of Brahman. And therefore, accept my goodbye. And with this I will conclude. It's a sufficient goodbye. Om Ram 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 Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om. Prayer for shower of divine grace of Karunamaya Ras over all, and prayer, may all souls be free of Mrityu virus, mortality virus. That is the only virus that is the most dreadful. It goes after life. And that's the highlight of the world process. In other words, may God bless you with strength to handle problems, bhakti, devotion, that makes your life flow in a sahaj, spontaneous way, without so much struggle. And mukti, which is the ultimate goal. That's self-realization. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Vabandhanan Mrityor Mukshyamamritat. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.